Hi everyone, this is Dr. Jordan, and I wanted to give you an example of how to begin your project. As we've discussed in class, that determining what you're going to study and what quality improvement aspect that you're going to work on is really important before you begin to work. Otherwise, you'll be sort of chasing your tail and not really focusing on what you should be studying. So in this very first part of the project, you want to find a hospital and look at a quality measurement that you think needs improvement. So how you start is to first register for an account. Go ahead and create your own account. It's free. This allows you to save your reports and to easily access them later. So do that part first. And then you want to start here. You want to compare hospitals, and you can search by name if you know the specific hospital you want to look at. You can search by state, and it can be any state. It doesn't have to be your state. I'm just going to pick one at random and say North Carolina. Okay. And so you can also choose by specific county if you wanted to, and by a system if you wanted to, so you can get as specific as you want to be in determining which hospital you want. So I'm going to again just pick one totally random. I don't know anything about this hospital, but this is the one I'm going to choose. And then I want to filter my results. What measures do I want to look at? Well, the patient experience is what I want to look at. I can narrow this down again to number of beds or type of ownership. You don't need to worry about that for this project. You can choose very specific types of hospitals that you want to look at, and that's fine too if that is your choice, but it's not necessary. Now we also want to add benchmarks, because remember in the assignment I've asked you to compare the measure that you are interested in according to state and national averages. Now this is important because this benchmarks, remember, are measurements out in comparable facilities or comparable systems that show you a comparison of how well you're doing versus the rest of the community. It's sort of like a grade point average. A percentage that you get on an exam might be a percentage completely off the total score on a test, but your percentile gives you a comparison of you compared to the rest of your classmates in a course. This type of benchmarking for quality measures does the same thing. We are going to compare this hospital to the rest of the state and to national averages. So all you have to do is click National Percentiles, choose National Average. You can choose the others if you wish for informational purposes, but you do not have to. And then we want to also choose state averages. And because this system that I chose, this hospital, was in North Carolina, I will choose the state of North Carolina. All I have to do now is click View Report, and it will ask me to read the terms of use and understand what you're going to use the project for. Since this is for educational purposes, you can click agree that you're not going to share this report or do anything nefarious with that. Put in your name here to save the report, and then click view report again. And as you can see, it's going to give you another information about that, you acknowledge that you realize we're not an accreditor, and so on and so forth. Just click I acknowledge and wish to continue. Now I have here a report from this website that has measured some quality indicators from the survey. So here is my hospital that I chose at the bottom, North Carolina and their state averages, and the national average. And these are per category. Each column is a question that was in the survey. Now these questions are standardized across all hospital systems. That's why we're able to look at these quality measures and determine how my hospital compares to the state and the national average. Now you need to make some decisions now about which one of these. You only need to choose one column. Okay, we're only going to look at one measure for this project, and that's typically how quality improvement projects work. You try to narrow down one or two or sometimes a handful of quality indicators that you want to address, because as you delve deeper into that inquiry, you will find a lot more information, a lot more testing, a lot more measurements than you ever thought of in the beginning. So it's good, particularly for our purposes. We're just beginning this process. You're going to choose one measure. So pick one of these columns that you want to work on for your project. Now, some guidelines would be, where does my hospital, as compared to state and national averages, where does it look like it's not doing so great and actually needs improvement? So for example, this column, pain was always well controlled. My hospital is scoring exactly the same as the state and exactly the same as the national. Now, you could certainly argue that on a national basis, we'd love this patient to have well-controlled pain at 100%. But we are performing at the benchmark of the state and the national average. So for our hospital, we are doing just fine. We are doing okay. So you would not choose this column because we are performing at the state and national average. Same thing with staff always explained about medicines. We're performing right at the benchmark. So another one you might look at, nurses always communicated well. Again, we're at 79%, which is very close to 81 and 80, so we might not choose that one. So find a column where our scores are lower by more than 1 or 2 points from the state and national averages. So we actually have a couple of choices here. We have this column here where we're scoring significantly below, this column, and this column. Now, once you choose your measure that you want to examine, you can do a couple of things. You can hover over the column. It gives you the full definition of that measure, and you can click down here to chart this data. And let's just click on that and see what happens. And it's thinking. And so here we go. So this has charted for us patients who strongly agree they understood their care when they left the hospital. Okay, it tells me my selected benchmarks, which was the state and the national average. It shows me the percentages over here to the right. I can look at trend data if I want to. These tells me the quarters over time. As you recall, when we want to see trends over time, the time is on the x-axis, and so on. But for the purposes of the first part of the project, all you need to do is find this information. One measure on the survey, your hospital compared to the state and national averages. Find the information on this website, and you should be able to create your own chart. You can go back to the report, and again, choosing this, there's very few data points here. If we choose this, it's 46, 52, 53%. All you have to do is create this chart and begin answering the questions at the beginning of the project. So I hope this provides some detailed information about how to get to the data that we're asking for and to begin your project. This is not the end of part 1. This is just the visual representation of the data. Then you're going to talk about why you have chosen it and answer the other 2 questions in that project part 1.